Okay. I want to comment on the events of the last week or week or so. You know, out of a situation like this, nobody wins. Everybody loses. Mrs. Biddle went forward with our principal, did not disclose all of the information that she should have disclosed. She then met with the superintendent. She threatened the superintendent that if he didn't comply with her request, that she would go to the newspaper and smear his name and his reputation throughout the area. I think Mrs. Biddle has been found out to be the person that she is, and that her efforts, which did not succeed, were designed to commit a fraud on this district, to take services from this district that were not permitted. Next, Mr. Stubenbort jumped into the mix and unfortunately fired the oven even more. I think he comes out, I think he loses, because I think he's seen as a political opportunist who does nothing more than jump into a situation and exploit it, a tragic situation, the death of the father, and exploit it for his own political gain in an effort to run for mayor. And that's truly tragic. Mr. Short loses because he's the object of direct physical threats on his life. These are the collateral damages that occur when board members and individuals from the community choose to take the steps that they took, perhaps without recognizing that the impact, and in this particular case, the impact on Mr. Short was terrible, absolutely terrible. Didn't they think about that? Didn't they care about that? About his wife, his children? He loses. School board members got nasty, hateful, mean-spirited emails from people all over the place. Probably many not from the district, but some from the district, because the newspaper failed to do the kind of job in investigating and put out poorly researched information. Almost feel like it's designed to fire up folks so that they buy more newspapers. And that's really unfortunate. So now perhaps the writers will begin to understand that when they fail to do research properly, when they fail to do their due diligence, how it hurts people, real people in our district. The board loses because we receive all of these threats. And then finally, the community loses because it's another black eye on Gateway, which never really needed to occur. When Mrs. Biddle and Mr. Stubenbort did not get their way, they decided to go to the public. We take hundreds of votes throughout the year, and we don't agree on all of them, but we don't go to the public castigating the board. When we don't get our way, we don't go out to the newspapers and bash the district. In executive committee meetings, or in this particular meeting, when Mr. Stubenbort didn't get his way, when it was clear that the board was moving to support the superintendent, he stood up, told all of us to go fuck ourselves. Turn that off, please. Turned to all of us and said, go fuck ourselves. And perhaps for those who are a little bit hard of hearing on the board, he said it again. It's disgraceful. It's demeaning. None of us run to be assaulted and offended like that. Absolutely uncalled for. I've been on boards for years and years and years, and I've never seen that happen. Never. And it's a shame. When you don't get your way, Mrs. Biddle, Steve O'Donnell, Chad Stubenbort, Scott Williams, you move on and you work together. You don't express to people how you feel about them personally in the meeting. You don't go out and fire up the public. You don't create a set of circumstances that demeans the superintendent that potentially could harm the superintendent. You don't create a set of circumstances that could harm board members who have kids at home. And by the way, some of these threats were directed at them. You don't do that. You work together. You don't use situations like this to advance your political career. You don't use situations like this to steal money from the Gateway School District. You don't do that. It's shameful behavior. And it's the kind of behavior that resulted in the motion to censure. I hope you take that seriously, Chad. I, like you, I've said to you on any number of occasions, 2 or 3, I've sort of laid out my thoughts about what might help you. And I understand advice is, worth what you pay for it. You're not paying for it, and perhaps you consider it worthless. I hope you take just the mere fact that a censure was placed on the table against you and understand what was being said. That's all, Mr. President.
Thank you.